When I tell people I'm 90, they usually tilt their heads, squint a little, and ask, "Wait, are you serious?" I nod, smile, and then I take off walking. Not just strolling, not shuffling, but moving with purpose, fast, steady, smooth. And you should see their faces when I pass a man who looks 50 and leave him behind like he's standing still. That's usually the moment their jaw drops. I've seen it happen too many times to count. You might think I'm joking, or that I have some magical genes, but I don't. I was sickly in my 60s. I had creaky knees, stiff ankles, and a back that barked at me every morning. My own doctor once said, "You're just aging normally." I hated that word normally. Like decline was something I had to just accept. But I didn't. I couldn't. I lost my wife when I was 67. Cancer took her too soon. And I remember sitting alone in that quiet house thinking, if I don't fight for my life now, no one will. That was the turning point. And let me tell you, it didn't come from a pill. It didn't come from a fancy supplement or a Hollywood diet. It came from something much simpler. Something I could control every single day. The food I put in my mouth. That's right, 5 foods. 5 simple, natural, everyday foods that transformed my mobility, my energy, and my aging process completely. They reduced the inflammation that was stealing my stride. They repaired tissues that doctors told me were too far gone. They gave me a second life, and not just to survive, but to thrive. So, if you're over 50, or 60, or even 80, and you think it's too late, I'm here to say, it's not. What I'm about to share with you could change everything. I don't need a cane. I don't need a scooter. I walk every day up hills, around the park, even races with my grandkids, and I win. And before you think this is some clickbait, let me be clear. I've got no brand to sell, no product in my pocket. I'm just an old man with a story, and I hope it lights something up in you the way it did for me back when I was sitting in that dark living room, wondering if my best years were already gone. They weren't. And yours aren't either. Because what you're about to discover isn't just about food. It's about fighting back. It's about healing. It's about reclaiming the vitality that aging tries to steal quietly, day by day. So don't go anywhere. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through these 5 powerful foods, what they are, how they work, and the simple way I added them into my daily life. And I promise by the end of this story, you'll never look at your plate or your body the same way again. I remember the exact morning I started. It was cold, mid-October. I'd just come back from a walk, well, more like a limp. My knees felt like they had sandpaper between them, my back was stiff as a board, and my ankles cracked like old floorboards with every step. I sat down with a cup of weak coffee and stared at my breakfast toast and jelly. Same thing I'd been eating for years. And then I asked myself, is this helping me live? Or just survive? That day, I made a decision. I opened my old notebook, the kind I used back in the Navy, and wrote one thing at the top of the page: eat to heal. I didn't know what I was doing yet, but I knew I had to start. And now, years later, I can tell you exactly what changed my body from aching and slow to strong, fast, and mobile. It starts with the first food on my list: turmeric. But not just any turmeric, fresh, organic turmeric root, grated into my morning tea. I didn't realize back then that turmeric contains something called curcumin, a powerful anti-inflammatory compound. All I knew was that after a couple of weeks of adding it daily, my knees didn't burn so bad. My joints felt looser. And for the first time in a long time, I actually wanted to go for a walk instead of dragging myself out the door. I even started calling it my miracle route. But one food alone wouldn't be enough. I needed a full team. That's when I discovered number 2, wild-caught salmon. Not farmed, not frozen mystery fillets. Real salmon, fresh from the market, deep pink and loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. At first, it was a treat I'd eat once a week. But after reading how omega-3s reduce chronic inflammation and help keep blood vessels flexible, I made it a regular part of my meals, grilled, baked, or poached in a little olive oil and lemon. And you know what happened? My mind got sharper. I stopped forgetting little things. My hands, which used to ache when writing letters, stopped cramping. My skin even looked clearer, brighter. There was something about salmon that made me feel younger, not just physically but mentally. The third food surprised me, not because it was rare, but because it was so ordinary. Blueberries. I grew up thinking they were just for pancakes, but these little things are antioxidant powerhouses. I started eating a bowl of them every morning, fresh when I could find them, frozen when I couldn't. Blueberries protect your brain, fight oxidative stress, and improve balance. That last one balance I noticed most. I stopped stumbling. I felt more confident climbing stairs. I even took a yoga class with my daughter once, and the instructor pulled me aside after and asked how long I'd been practicing. I laughed and told her, "Since breakfast, number 4 is a bit unconventional. Bone broth, not from a box. The real kind simmered slow for 24 hours on the stove, bones and herbs and garlic and love. I make a batch every Sunday. Bone broth is packed with collagen, gelatin, and amino acids that repair the lining of your gut and support healthy joints. That part shocked me the most. See, I used to have terrible digestion, gas, bloating, all the stuff no one wants to talk about. But after 2 weeks of daily bone broth, my stomach felt calm again. My joints felt oiled. And when I woke up, I didn't feel like I'd been hit by a truck. I felt rested, solid, strong. And finally, number 5, the simplest of them all. Leafy greens. Not just iceberg lettuce. I'm talking kale, spinach, arugula, chard. I mix them up every day raw in salads, steamed with garlic, blended into smoothies. These greens are loaded with vitamin K, magnesium, and plant-based compounds that support heart health, reduce inflammation, and detoxify the liver. That liver part was huge for me. I used to feel sluggish after meals, like my body couldn't process food properly. But when I added greens every single day, even just a handful, that heaviness disappeared. My energy came back. My walking pace got faster. My moods lifted. I felt younger. Not in a fantasy way, but in a my body actually works again way. And here's the thing. None of these foods are magic on their own. It's the combination, the consistency, the commitment. I started slow, one new food every week. I gave my body time to adjust, to heal, to respond. And it did. Month by month, I walked further, stood taller, breathed deeper. And one day I'll never forget this. I was at the grocery store, standing in line behind a man maybe 50 years old. When it was time to walk out, he picked up his bags and limped away slowly. I picked mine up and passed him, effortlessly, smoothly. I got to my car before he was halfway across the parking lot. And it hit me like thunder. I'm 90, and I just outwalked a 50-year-old. Not because I'm lucky, not because I'm special, but because I chose to fight aging at the source, not with medicine, but with food, with nature, with consistency, and with belief that our bodies can heal if we give them the right fuel. These 5 foods, turmeric, salmon, blueberries, bone broth, and leafy greens, they aren't trends, they're tools, and they're waiting on your plate right now, ready to help, ready to heal. The question is, will you let them? You might be wondering, what does a typical day look like for me now, at 90, walking strong, thinking clear, and beating the odds. Let me show you. It's not complicated. It doesn't require a personal chef or expensive supplements. It's just rhythm, intention, simplicity. I wake up early. I always have. Around 6 a.m., the sun barely up. I take a slow breath, swing my legs over the side of the bed, and stand tall. No groaning, no back pain, just movement. That's already a miracle, believe me. My morning starts with a cup of warm lemon water, gets the digestion moving, wakes the liver up gently. Then I walk to the kitchen and boil a pot of water. I drop in some fresh grated turmeric, a slice of ginger, a dash of black pepper that's important for absorption, and I let it steep. While that's brewing, I stretch. Nothing fancy. 10 minutes of easy movements to wake my joints. Then I sit down and drink that golden tea. It's earthy, it's warm, it's medicine in a mug. Breakfast is simple but powerful. A bowl of steel, cut oats topped with blueberries, a sprinkle of flaxseed, and a splash of almond milk. Sometimes I add cinnamon. If I'm especially hungry, I'll have a soft-boiled egg on the side. That keeps me going until lunch. Mid-morning, I walk. Not a stroll. A walk. I push my pace. Shoulders back, eyes forward, heels rolling. People still look at me funny when I pass them. Sometimes they ask what my secret is. I just smile. Lunch is usually a leafy green salad kale, arugula, spinach tossed in olive oil and apple cider vinegar, topped with grilled salmon, maybe a bit of avocado or pumpkin seeds. That plate right there? That's my daily prescription. That's the meal that changed everything. In the afternoon, I rest. Not because I'm tired, but because I've earned it. I'll read, sometimes nap. Around 4 p.m., I heat up a cup of homemade bone broth. I sip it slowly, sitting by the window, watching the birds. That broth heals me every time I drink it, my joints, my gut, my mood. Dinner is light. Steamed vegetables, sometimes a piece of sweet potato, a handful of walnuts, maybe another bit of salmon or a few lentils. I don't eat heavy at night. My body sleeps better when it's not busy digesting. And sleep. Let me tell you, sleep is gold when you're aging. Before bed, I journal. Just 3 lines. What went well today, what I'm grateful for, and how I moved my body. That little practice helps me reflect and helps me sleep. Because peace of mind is just as powerful as food when it comes to aging well. And here's what I've noticed. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. I don't count calories. I don't weigh portions. I just choose healing over hurting, one bite at a time. And my body responds. It thanks me with energy, clarity, and movement. Look, I know there's a lot of advice out there. Every week, a new diet, a new pill, a new program. But none of them matter if you don't start with belief. The belief that your body wants to heal. It's built to heal, but you have to give it the tools. That's what these 5 foods are. Tools. They won't fix everything overnight. But slowly, gently, day by day, they work beneath the surface, reducing the silent inflammation that steals our strength, repairing cells, rebuilding tissues, rebalancing hormones. And maybe the biggest thing they fix? Hope. Because when you start to feel strong again, when your knees stop aching, when your walks get longer, when you wake up and don't feel like 100 years old, that hope turns into momentum. And momentum is everything. That's what brought me here. That's why I'm telling this story now. Because I know there's someone out there, maybe you, who's on the edge. Maybe you've been told, that's just aging. Maybe your kids are starting to look at you with that worried softness in their eyes. Maybe you feel like your best days are behind you. But I'm here to say, they're not. You can get better. You can feel better. You can walk strong again even at 90. And if I can do it, after losing my wife, losing my health, and nearly giving up, you can too. Start small. Pick one food, add it every day, then add another, and another. Let your plate become your pharmacy. Let your fork become your future. No fancy tools, no fad diets. Just real food, real healing, and real results. I'm not trying to be young again. I'm not chasing youth. I'm honoring age. And walking through it like a man who still has places to go. So the next time someone tells you that aging has to be a downhill slide, smile, take a deep breath, and keep walking. Maybe even a little faster than the person next to you. And when they ask how you're doing it, just say, it's these 5 foods and a decision not to give up. Because that's where it really begins. Not in the grocery store, not in the kitchen, but right here in the mind, in the heart, and in the choice to keep moving forward. At any age, every age,